Ancient borders were rigid. Mountains, oceans, and language families formed massive walls between civilizations. But stories migrated as freely as birds in flight. Take a specific narrative classified by folklorists as Motif A153.1. The plot is simple. A lower status being steals the sustenance of hierarchically superior gods. This exact mythological crime appears in the oldest texts of entirely separate empires. This raises a difficult question for researchers. How did such a highly specific narrative blueprint appear in Greece, India, and China at roughly the same time? To solve that mystery, we have to strip away the local cultural paint of these three distinct worlds and examine the invisible architecture underneath. In the Mediterranean, ancient Greece is a world defined by earthy colors, rocky coasts, and Aegean light. The primary variants of the motif here feature figures like Prometheus, who tricks Zeus to steal fire and meat, or Tantalos, who lifts ambrosia and nectar directly from the Olympian dining tables. The structural mechanics of these Greek thefts follow a strict pattern. The thieves rely on trickery to secure the goods, they share the stolen items with mortals, and they quickly face the wrath of the gods. Defying the Olympians carries a specific price. In the Greek facade, the theft of divine sustenance results in a catastrophic, eternal bodily punishment for the thief. Thousands of miles away sits ancient India, a cultural landscape built on massive epics and complex, shifting cosmic hierarchies. In texts like the Mahabharata and Ramayana, the thieves take different forms. The giant bird Garuḍa takes the elixir of immortality, known as amṛta, while the storm god Indra takes the sacred drink, soma. To achieve the theft, the Indian narrative relies heavily on violent, epic struggles and the formation of strategic cosmic alliances. Look past the grander cosmic scale, and the underlying action matches the Greek blueprint. A subordinate being steals divine sustenance from a higher power to secure a specific reward. Researchers look to China as a negative control, a civilization that developed structurally and linguistically isolated from the West. In the classic text Journey to the West, the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, raids the celestial gardens for heavenly peaches and consumes pills of immortality. There is a minor cultural nuance here. Sun Wukong targets high-ranking celestial immortals within a cosmic bureaucracy, rather than Western-style gods. Even in an isolated culture operating outside the Western linguistic sphere, the fundamental premise of stealing divine sustenance persists. Folklorists analyze these stories using syntagmatic moments, the culturally agnostic building blocks that make up a narrative timeline. When we break down every variant from Greece, India, and China, 4 universal building blocks emerge: the setting, the theft, the punishment, and the reward. The data shows that the universal group of traits is the strongest across all 3 cultures. The narrative blueprint remains consistent regardless of the civilization telling the story. The differences exist only in the details. The punishment trait in Western and Indian myths involves severe bodily harm. In China, the thief is placed into a cauldron for boiling, an attempt that usually proves ineffective. While the specific cultural details diverge, the underlying structural framework remains shared across all 3 regions. The first academic theory explaining this shared blueprint is vertical heritage. This argues that these stories were inherited genetically from a single ancient source. This supports the Indo-European theory, stating that Greece and India share similarities because they descend from a single ancestral language, originating on the Eurasian steppes. But that theory fails to explain how China, a culture with no linguistic link to the Indo-European family, acquired similar stories. This points researchers toward the theory of horizontal diffusion. Ideas were physically carried across geographic borders, like Buddhist monks carrying texts from India to China. Whether they were inherited by ancient bloodlines or traded along the Silk Road, these specific narrative blueprints infiltrated every major civilization. Why did this specific story survive the journey across millennia? It reflects a universal human tension, the ambition of mortals to reach beyond their station and taste immortality. It also acknowledges a dark truth found in every culture: the ultimate theft always demands a heavy cost. These stories endure because they share a narrative blueprint that remains consistent regardless of where they are told.
This is the search for wisdom. Welcome to the Wisdom Archive.